All right, talk about the times that we're in right now. A lot of people don't truly know what's going on in the world. I want to give you a precept. I'm going to read Nahum, chapter 1, I believe it's 1 through 6, but I'm going to expound a little bit because there's a lot of tornadoes going on right now. There's a lot of earthquakes. There's a lot of things going on that are in the supernatural. And what man wants to say is this is Mother Nature. And there's no mother in what's happening with this nature. Right now, our Father who art in heaven, and hallowed be his name, he's doing this. Let me give you a precept. Nahum chapter 1, the burden of Nineveh, the book of the vision of Nahum, the Elkoshite. It says, Elohim is jealous, and the Lord revengeth. The Lord revengeth and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he reserveth wrath for his enemies. The Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not acquit the wicked. Because right now, there's a lot of wickedness on this earth. There's a lot of people selling their souls for the music, the television industry. A lot of the lands in the Americas, when you start really reading and learning that America is a true old world, and that when it was a great Pangea, that Africa and that other continent broke off from the Americas, and that America is truly where a lot of the things in the Bible happen. And to give you an example, and I always tell people this, it says in the scriptures over and over that David sowed corn, and also other prophets and people in the Bible. Corn is only indigenous to America. It tells you that when the Lord wanted to punish us, he fed us quail. Well, quail is only indigenous to America. The Ark of the Covenant, the Ark, where Noah took all the people on the boat, him, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and their 4 wives, and all the animals. The Ark is made of gopher wood, and gopher wood is only indigenous to what we would call Florida. So saying that, there's been a systemic effort to basically blind the Lord's children to who they are and to take their titles. But let me keep reading. It says here in verse 3, the Lord is slow to anger, great in power, and will not acquit the wicked. The Lord has his way in the whirlwind and in the storm and in the clouds. And it says, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. Now, saying that, it says he has his way in the whirlwind. So when you saw that eclipse come over, and it came over and they put a Tav sign over what you would call over Texas, and it was a straight line through Texas. Because remember, it hit Nineveh, Texas first. It hit Jonah, Texas first, and then it hit 7 or 8 states called Nineveh. And then one thing I want to let you know is that when it says that the Lord comes in a whirlwind, he's coming. And the reason Texas is getting so many tornadoes is because the scriptures right here tell you straightway that the Lord comes in a whirlwind. He's the one that's bringing these tornadoes. Why? Go back and look at the history of Texas. Just Texas alone. A lot of these lands that you're looking at are actually biblical lands, spiritual lands that the so-called YT people took away from the indigenous people, what you would call Negroes today, but before they was called Indians, or they was called Jacob's children. This land is the land of Canaan, the land of milk and honey. This is the land that the Lord gave to his children. You know, Esau, he ended up getting the wealth. Yeah, you know, Jacob, when you read the book of Jasher, Jacob gave him all the money when Isaac died. He ended up giving him all the money that Isaac, Abraham had amassed. And so what Jacob said was, I'll take the land. He took the land of Canaan. And America is the land of Canaan, the land of milk and honey, where all nations want to come. And so when that land was taken, you understand, that's when Jacob started having his trouble. So for over 3,000 some odd years, we've lost so many people. It was called the time of Jacob's trouble. And we've lost over 200 and some million of our people. We was numerous as the sands of the sea. But let me keep reading. Because a lot of people don't know why the earthquakes, the mountains are falling, why all this stuff is happening, not understanding biblical prophecy, and they've inherited lies from their forefathers. Let me keep reading. So this is Nahum chapter 1, verse 5. The mountains quake at him and the hills melt. This is why your mountains are falling. When you go to all through China, when you go through Cambodia, when you go through the Americas, even all through the earth, you'll see mountains just starting to fall. The scriptures say that the earth is going to reveal the woman. In Israel, Yeshua being the bridegroom, but Israel, the 12 tribes being his bride, the earth is revealing exactly who they are. So all our ancient monuments are being shown again. All the ancient places that we used to worship, the earth is removing things and showing it again. The mounds that they tore down with our bodies in them, the earth is removing things. So right now the earth is revealing the woman. But let me keep going here. It says, who can stand before his stand before his indignation? And who can abide in his fierceness of his anger? His fury is poured out like a fire, and the rocks are thrown down by him. The Lord is good, and a stronghold in a day of trouble, and he knoweth them that trust in him. The Lord knows in those who trust in him. You know, yesterday we went out by the grace of the Most High, and we were able to feed so many people in downtown Atlanta. Me and my wife sat up for 2 days cooking, and the reason we do a lot of this is because when Yeshua was walking, he said, you know, when you do some of this to my brother, and he was telling the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and he was telling the people, when you do something to my brethren, you know, you've done something to me. And they said, what do you mean? He says, when I was sick, you didn't visit me. When I was in jail, you didn't come. When I was hungry, you didn't feed me. When I needed a jacket, you wouldn't give me a coat. They said, we've never done anything to you like this. He said, but you did it to my brethren. And see, we are Yeshua's brethren. He's from the tribe of Judah. He's a Nazarite. We are also all part of that family. And so when people out here in this world take away from us what the Lord calls the jewelry, his precious jewelry, what happens is they don't understand. They're putting curses on them and their children. You see, Psalms 83 verse 1 say they were confederate. And now this confederacy that came in, all these nations who were called the confederacy, who were together and complacent on making sure that Psalms 83 verse 1, when he says that these nations came together to hide the identity of Israel, so that the name of Israel be no more remembrance. So these nations right now are under judgment. The book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 7, the Lord is a good stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knoweth them that trust in him. But with an overwhelming flood, he will make an utter end to the place thereof, and darkness shall pursue his enemies. Now, you see a lot of places flooding. All of a sudden, the storms are coming. I saw Brazil, where they had the parade, and they was walking around with Satan everywhere in the parade. And all of a sudden, they got hit with a major storm. And right now, Brazil looks like a swimming pool. Not just Brazil, but all these other nations out here where you see the floods. And all of a sudden, now get this. Now, I've said this before. The Lord will come a lot of times at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're in the midst of your peace and your sleep, and he'll come like a thief in the night. This is what's going on right now. Verse 9, it says, why do you imagine against the Lord? He will make an utter end. Affliction shall not rise up a second time, because when he comes back to gather his children, when you go to Ezekiel 38 and 39, 34 tells you Ezekiel 34 tells you he's going to gather us from the four corners of the earth, from the outermost parts where we're scattered through slavery. So when he comes and gather us, the scriptures tell you that Israel means an ensign. Why? Because when he gathers us, it's the end for the other nations. And all of this is starting to happen right now, not by force, not by might, but with the spirit. You see, that eclipse was a telltale sign that the birthing pains on this earth were going to speed up. So the earthquakes, the volcanoes, the tornadoes, all of this is coming to do what? It's coming to do judgment on all those who's afflicted the Lord's children. And more than that, those who perverse his holy name. Verse 9. Verse 10, it says, for while they be folded together as thorns, and while they are drunken as drunkards, they shall be devoured as stubble, fully dry. It says, there is one that come out of thee, that imagines evil against the Lord, a wicked counselor. Thus says the Lord, though they be quiet, and likewise many yet, thus shall they be cut down. When he shall pass through, though I have afflicted thee, he said, I've afflicted you, Israel. Jacob has had his trouble. He says, I will afflict thee no more. You see, our affliction is over. The only time we stay in affliction is when we go against the Lord's laws, judgments, statutes, and commandments. We don't do religion. We're religious. That means we follow one God with authority. 14, and the Lord hath given commandments concerning thee. He's given commandments that no more of thy name be sown out of the house of thy gods. It says, be sown. It says, out of the house of thy gods will I cut off graven images and molten images. I will make thee thy grave, for thou art vile. Behold, upon the mountains, the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publish peace. O Judah, keep thy solemn feasts, perform thy vows, for the wicked shall no more pass through thee. He is utterly, utterly cut off. Nahum, chapter 1. This is the time of the Gentiles. Israel we've had our time. Now it's their time. And this is why it's important for us to represent the Most High and his holy name. This is why he said that we are a brand that will be plucked out of the fire. When these missiles fall, that is that fire.